everybody. My name is Simon Horn. I'm the CEO of Angel Loop. We are a network of angel groups that run across Queensland and New South Wales. So I'm here to talk about angel syndication and how investment syndication can work through angel groups. So first, I'd like to talk about what we are and what we're not. We're an angel network. Therefore, we are not a group as such. We are a network of different groups. So we have groups in our network. We have totally, at the moment, 17 groups in our network where we share investment opportunities, and we also facilitate investment syndication between the groups. The purpose of that is to raise more money for early stage investments as quickly and as simply as possible. So basically, you come to us and we will then send you across our network to help you raise your seed round capital. So what is more about Angel Loop? Angel Loop means closing the loop on innovation. What that means is we're about closing not just entrepreneurship, but looking at investment and bringing ideas to commercial fruition. So that's what we're really looking at. So how do we bring those innovations, close those loops, and bring them to commercial fruition? That's the role of Angel Loop. So Angel Loop is currently, I don't know whether you can see that's a bit small, but we have a network of 17 angel groups all the way from Townsville in northern Queensland all the way down to our affiliate down there in Hunter. And hey, Grant, how are you down in Hunter? So we have a network of 17 groups, and we basically all work together as one big investment syndicate. So in the network, we probably have about 300 to 400 angel investors. So we're by far the largest network in Australia, but also probably one of the largest in the world. So in terms of investment in syndication. So last year, to give you some ideas how large our group is, last year we did 42 investment placements into 30 different companies. The recent Angels Awards, Australian Angel Awards, our Brisbane Angel Group won most active angel group in the country for the second year running, and we also won for the second year running the most active regional angel group for last year, which was Byron Angels, and the year before was Fraser Coast Angels. So we're very active in terms of what we do. So we're getting quite big, and we're growing very strong and focusing very much on putting that first dollar into startups. So if you looked at our growth in the last 3 years, it has been nothing more than spectacular. Angel Loop was started in like 4 years ago in 2017. And in the 3 years since then, we have grown from funding 15 to up to 42. So we've had a very very steep rise in terms of how many startups we fund and how we grow that. And we've been able to do that by using syndication between the groups. The groups haven't exploded in size like that. What has happened is that we've established new groups and got them to syndicate. That's how we've achieved that spectacular growth in early stage investment. So why do we create regional angel groups? This is part of our function of what we do. So what we do is we travel around regional Australia establishing angel groups to help local entrepreneurs. So this is the real problem we have, and I think maybe some people have seen this. This recently came out has been out for a while, but Australia lags well behind the rest of the world in terms of what money we put into startup businesses. And those startup businesses are like $3 as compared to the United States, which is $25. So we're well behind the leaders in the pack in terms of what we invest in startups. So what we want to do is we want to activate local people in regional communities to help fund their local entrepreneurs, to help them grow, and then seed and fund them and help them stay in their local community. So we're about not only just funding startups, but helping them stay in regional Australia and giving regional Australia a leg up in terms of the innovation race. So if you were to look at our purpose, this is our purpose, we've drawn it up. Basically, we're here to promote a culture of innovation and entrepreneurship in Australia, particularly in regional areas, to establish and support local angel groups so members of the public can come together, collectively donate their time, their experience, and more importantly, their money to assist the local innovators to commercialise their ideas for the benefit of Australia, but also the benefit of the local community. So that's kind of our mission statement. So it gives you an over idea of what we do. So we're not an angel group, we're a network. So we actually establish angel groups. So if you look at a member group, any member group around regional Queensland and northern New South Wales, the legal structure is totally up to the group themselves. They can be unincorporated and they operate under Angel Loop as a chapter. They can be incorporated themselves and be as a corporated not-for-profit, either under an association or the state association or under a company by guarantee. But most importantly, we are always on the lookout for a local champion The local champion works with me to help establish the group. They usually promote the group to the local community and be the face of the group to the local community. And we generally draw our members from places like the Chambers of Commerce, local Chamber of Commerce, the Rotary Clubs, and wealthy, civically minded individuals. So we generally try and get the leading civic citizens of the region to come together to help support the local innovation ecosystems. So we're not looking at this as like a bunch of kids having fun in a startup hub. We're making this a really important part of the culture of being part of regional Australia. So why syndicate? Well, it's pretty simple. This is very risky. So what we want to do is number one, we want to reduce risk, and also we want to have a very broad portfolio. So there's several reasons for that, and I'll explain this in a bit of detail. So firstly, angel investment is incredibly risky. These are the stats from the United States that shows that 65% of everything an angel invests in will never make a return. This is just the facts of angel investing. So if you come to angel investing wanting to pick the next $1 million race, well, chances are the 65% chance it's not going to even make any money for you. So the hard cold reality is it's highly risky and there's high returns. But in doing so, if you look at the distribution of returns across investment, it's usually those big ones that make all your money. But unfortunately, as an angel investor, you don't know which ones they are. You don't know which ones are going to give you 30x return which is the green graph, and which ones are not going to give you any return. So it's really important to that. And if you have a really diverse portfolio, you'll be able to make a reasonable return on your investment. But most importantly, you're helping to fund Australian innovators and entrepreneurs to commercialize ideas for the benefit of the community. So it's very, very important. Our motivation is primarily to get startups funded, but ensure that the investors don't also lose their shirts. So that's very, very important. So if you look at the probability of return, this is a mathematical model that I often like to refer to. If you were to invest in one startup, you basically if you would just invest in 5 startups, you would have a 50% chance of getting your money back. If you would invest in 25 startups, you have a 50% chance of getting, somewhere between 2.5 to 3 times your money back. So it's really about those numbers. Investing in a lot of startups over it doesn't have to all be done in 1 year, but over a period of time, spread your portfolio out, put a little in a lot of pots, and watch them grow. And some will grow spectacularly, and some, of course, won't. But the ones that grow spectacularly will cover all the losses of the ones that don't take off. So what we're really trying to do here to focus on is to increase the number of opportunities for angels to invest, to increase the portfolio, but also to increase the number of investors as well. So instead of having 1 or 2 investors put a lot of money in, we're looking at putting lots of little investors putting a little amount of money in to reduce their risk. So Angel Loop it's just a snapshot of some of the businesses we've helped support over the last few years. Just a snapshot across Queensland. Some of those businesses are going spectacularly well. Others have completely just closed shop and don't operate anymore. So it's really about, we're so early, it's very difficult to pick which businesses are going to give you a 10 times return, which ones are going to give you a 30 times return. So we invest so early that we've just got to take a portfolio approach in terms of how we invest, and that means lots of businesses for investors to select against. So if you were to look at a normal screening funnel, don't look at the numbers particularly, but this is how a normal angel group would work. Basically, you would see a huge number of applications. You go through a screening process, and then you do some work on the screening, and then a smaller number would present. So what we really focus is in the presented level. So we're really focusing on the businesses that have gone through the filter, been screened, and so forth. So we have a high quality number of startups that we offer to our regional investors. So, and in that process, we also want them to come together and invest in those businesses, and so that we have a great opportunity to grow the businesses. So if you look at our syndication process, so this is how it would normally work in an angel group. Some angel groups are different. We're just talking about the Queensland and Northern New South Wales groups. You apply to a program called GUST, and we would then basically review your application. If you can't fill out a GUST application, you're not going to get anywhere. What we have is usually have a group of people that the angel group would have a group of people, maybe 2 or 3, that would review the application in GUST and determine whether it's of interest to our members. Generally, what you have to have is an innovation that's basically a technical problem to a real world solution, or no, technical solution to a real world problem. Apologies, but it's a technical solution to a real world problem. If we can't see that, then you haven't got an innovation, and then that's not something we would be interested in. So very much important to have that. What we would do is then there would be a screening meeting. So we would have probably a whole lot of applications come through. We'd probably cut half or 3/4 of them at the desk level. Then we bring the remaining in to have a screening meeting where we have a panel of 4 or 5 or so local angel group members who would then screen and screen the quality of the presentation. From there, they would make decisions on. There's certainly 3 decisions to be made. It's either yes, you come through and you pitch to the major group. There's no, that's not something that we would be interested in, or it's a maybe where you would need to work on your pitch. At that point, we would then the group would then sort of volunteer themselves or refer to people that can help them with their pitch and their presentation. So the idea is meant to be very constructive. It's not meant to be like a Shark Tank kind of an aggressive. It's meant to be helpful and supportive to make sure that that your pitch will be interesting to the members, but also are you pitch ready and whether you're likely to get any investment. So it's really important that meeting, and it's meant to be kind of like a mentoring session and as well as a support session. Which if you are maybe, then what happened is that hopefully one of the angel members will step up and volunteer their time to assist you with your presentation or some aspect of your business before you can be brought back and presented again. Once you've come, and the next step is we call the big room, which is the presentation to members. What you do then is when you present to members is that they will then make a determination whether they like you or don't like you. And so what happens is that you've got to have at least a minimum of 1 or 2 or more people who are interested in investing in your business. And what they do is then it says, yes, we are interested in this business. And that becomes what we call a deal. And there's a deal lead appointed. And that deal lead will then help take through the DD process. But it's at that point in that group, so for instance, this might be Brisbane, this might be Gold Coast, this might be Sunshine Coast. That group will then contact me and say, we've got a really good deal that's of interest for our members. Would you be interested in sharing this throughout your network? And then my role is then to take those deals and take them across our network to help raise the necessary capital they need. So all the DD and screening has been done by the local group, so what they do then is then I come in and then we syndicate the deal across the network. The group then comes back together and then they do the DD process with the 2 or 3 local people that were there. So hopefully we have a local startup pitching to local investors, and then you have a local DD team, and then ultimately they approve the investment, and then a local angel comes onto your board to help you execute on your business. So it's all about, and many of the angels are successful tech people as well. So it's all about giving back and helping you grow. But from our perspective, what we do is in the syndicate process. We're helping you fill the bucket up of money as an entrepreneur. So we'll then take the process of syndication. So we go on what I call the Angels Roadshow, which is literally like an old rock and roll roadshow. We literally go from town to town to town and pitch. And so, for instance, we can have up 8 different locations in 5 days. I'll start in Brisbane, and we'll go to Moreton Bay, we'll go to Sunshine Coast, we'll go to Gympie, we'll go to Fraser Coast, we'll go to Bundy, we'll go to Gladstone, Rocky, Mackay, Townsville in a week. Sometimes there won't be all of those groups in 1 week, but generally up to about 8 in a week. And you literally sleep, wake up, pitch, drive, sleep, wake up, pitch, drive for a week. And it's really, really like it's like a boot camp kind of pitchathon. But we generally drive. So I drive the car, and I've just come back. Actually, I've just come back from a road trip to Rockhampton yesterday. I flew back to Brisbane, but what we do is we load them in the car and we take them on the road trip to help them raise the money, the necessary capital they need. And ultimately, what we would like to do is that all becomes part of a pot. So we would generally bring some regional groups. Regional groups would either have a meeting every month or they'd have it bi-monthly, depending on what they like. Sometimes they have a partnership relationship with a neighbouring group. So, for instance, I have a group in Redlands and a group in Logan, and one will have a meeting one month, the other will have a meeting the other month. If you're interested, you can attend either. So generally, there's cooperation between groups; they're not just isolated. And we just generally bring 2 opportunities every month. But the most important thing we would like to do is we encourage our local angel groups to find a local one in their community to pitch. So we're trying to encourage those members of those groups through a kind of a symbiotic learning process. They see what great pitches look like, they learn what's important, and then they filter that back to the local community. So we want them to go out and basically have their own screening processes and their own vetting processes to bring local entrepreneurs to the meetings so that they can be so we can raise capital. And of course, if there's members who are interested in investing, then they of course come on the road trip with me, and they go on the road trip with me as well. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to encourage a culture of innovation and entrepreneurship, particularly around mentoring and investing from local community leaders, and also educate regional Australia into the importance of what is this thing called entrepreneurship, in a way that local successful business people can give back and support their local and upcoming business community. So it's really important, and we really encourage them to find a local pitch in each one of the group. If they haven't got one, well, they haven't got one. But ultimately, we would like them to assist and to increase the group. So it's been actually quite successful. We've done a number of important startups. Like, for instance, this month I took a startup from Gundawindi, and I took a startup from originally from Townsville. We've raised money for startups in Mackay, in Fraser Coast, Port Macquarie, Byron Bay. We've done an investment through a group in Byron Bay. So what we're encouraging to do it is, initially these startups come out of the city, of course, to help grow the network. But what we're starting to see is an infusion of regional startups coming on our network and then raising capital and going back into their local community to create jobs and opportunities in those communities. So in a way, we've seen a huge amount of success in being able to grow those local angel groups, but also change the mindset of regional Australia to think that entrepreneurship is not just a city thing, it's a real thing, and that key members of the community should be participating in the activity as mentors and as investors. So it's really important to develop that culture. And I'm really impressed at how some of the communities around Queensland are really coming in and rallying to the cause. So it's been very exciting. So I don't know whether you can see that, but that's what a deal room would look like. A syndicated deal room would look like. I've blacked out the names, but for instance, there you can see that we generally try to have a broad portfolio. So we generally encourage investments of between $5,000 and $50,000 in any one investment. But as you can see, once you get a lot of people together, that adds up to a lot of money. So this particular syndication, we've had like 8-10 different groups participate in our network to raise the money, and they've been incredibly successful. So what we do is we focus on bringing them all together, and then they all invest as one big investor. So all the entrepreneurs sees at the bottom line on their cap table or their investor sheet or their share register is one name and one value. And so that's really important. We don't necessarily run an investment vehicle. Some groups have investment vehicles, but all we do is help syndicate each group's ability to raise money for their individual startups. So that's the whole role of what we do. So we drive around all crazy to round up money to help startups grow. And this particular startup has now got 25 employees and are doing really well. And we one of our very much of our success stories. So what do we do? It's not just the investment, it's also the post-investment piece. So the important thing about being an angel investor is also helping support the company to grow. And even being a member, and even if you didn't invest, it's really important that if you have a local entrepreneur that is struggling and needs help them. Go out of your way, because you have knowledge that they need, and they need to, and help them learn and help them to grow. because it's important for regional Australia that we have an entrepreneurial mindset and we have an entrepreneurial culture, so that we create new jobs and opportunities throughout the regions. So the more important thing is the group will one member will be appointed to the board, but the group will have responsibility for managing and supporting the investment. So quite often, a number of occasions where we've had a startup that was on, for instance, Fraser Coast. We had a wonderful startup on the Fraser Coast, needed a technical solution to a problem. That we ran that question across our network, across our entire network, and we were able to solve that problem within very, very quickly. We were able to solve that problem for them and open the door to a solution so that that person could secure a very large contract, and we're able them to execute on it. And so it's been hugely successful about giving back and supporting them after they've been investing. And always, whatever you can do, assist them to help them to grow. Introduce them to markets, introduce them to influencers or people who can help them grow their business. So that's what we really focus on as an angel group. So that pretty much covers most of our presentation. I suppose I've gone a little bit fast through the presentation, but if anybody's got any particular question, I'm pretty much open to questions. I don't seem to have anybody asking any questions. Okay. So I'll probably go back into a little bit more detail on some of these topics and talk about the importance. Let me just go back. Talk about the Angel Roadshow. So we'll talk about what we do. Generally, I would allocate a week in the month, usually a second or third week of the month, where we would round up. We get 2 or 3 entrepreneurs, and then take them in my car, and we'd go from location to location and pitch the presentation and get feedback. And as you go through that process, it's a wonderful learning process. It's by the time at the end of the day, at the end of the week, after you've pitched in 8 locations, it's pretty exciting because you've got a really slick pitch. And I generally give you feedback on each location on what the group decided, or what was good and what was bad about the pitch, and then we pitch while we sort of in the car and driving. So it's really great. We stop in at hotels on the way. So you'll pitch, you'll drive, you'll pitch, you'll drive, you'll pitch, and so it's a really good. And a lot of the entrepreneurs get a really good. They have a, they often think it's a great thing to go on the road and to pitch. So it's been quite exciting. Has anybody any questions? Oh, some questions. Do we invest locally in owned local Queensland companies? No. From Kellyanne, absolutely not. We do. We syndicate very well. We actually syndicate pretty well with our good friends of Melbourne Angels, Jordan down there. We've done deals with South Australian Angels. We've also done deals with Perth Angels, and they've come into a few of our deals. So we do very much syndicate across Australia. Our focus is just on our region, but we're happy to syndicate with any other angel group across the country, and we're very, very open and very, very supportive of that. So we really want to focus on those collaborations and helping them raise. So I've taken a startup that was from Melbourne, and I've taken them across some of our road trips and introduced them to help them raise money as well. So it's not just Queensland. We'll do around Australia. So scale-ups. So a question from Ian in terms of scale-ups. Yes, we'll do scale-ups. It's not just the first seed round. We'll also do scale-ups as well. It depends on the valuation of your business. So we're really focused on the early stage. So if you're doing an early stage scale-up, then yes. If you're a later stage, then probably no. We really look for businesses that have a valuation under about $10 million. Any more than that, then we wouldn't call them so much as early stage. But we'd probably tap out at about a $10 million pre-money val. So before we invest, so valuation before we invest. So that would be yes. So Dean, I don't know who that Dean is, and I think I might know who he is. Is there any education for investors? Yes, we are about to run courses for investors. across our network. So coming in, very excitingly, coming in December, the University of Queensland will be running an angel investor course that will be available for investors to understand. So by regulation, just because you're wealthy doesn't make you sophisticated. So it's important to understand. Just because you might be, and ASIC are very, very particular about this now. So you actually have to not only be wealthy or have money, but also understand angel investment and the nuances of it. So we're beginning the process of educating our new members on angel investing to ensure that they fully understand the investment class and particularly the risk and the building of portfolios. So yes, we have a course. We'll be starting it with the University of Queensland in Brisbane. We also have a course that will be running around northern New South Wales and regional Queensland as well, which will be coming out in the new year. So what that aim is to do is to give investors a clear understanding of how to invest to not lose all your money, but also be importantly give back to the local community. So from Dwight, do you match investors to staffs in the same way or in different areas? So we in different areas. So what we want to do is initially what we'd like our staff to do is to connect into their local investors. So we encourage and cultivate and activate local investors. That's our role. We'd like to find investors in your local town or community who are willing to invest in your business. And then what we do is they may only have a small amount of money. So instead of, because we're very risky, so one or two investors in your town may not be enough money that you need. So what we will do then is we will then take you on a road trip and take you from other towns and other communities and help basically fill the tin up. So you get all the seed money that you need. So ideally, we'd like to get a local representative and support network around the startup in their community. But ultimately, the capital that comes in can be from anywhere across our network. And we certainly encourage that. And we do bring a lot of our regional startups to, say, for instance, Brisbane and Byron and so forth, some of our bigger groups, and encourage investment into those businesses. But ideally, we'd like you to go back and stay in your local community, because that's where you get your best support, and build support networks around that to build jobs and opportunities in regional Australia. So I hope that answers the question, Dwight. Do you help with accurate valuation of new startups? What's the word of accurate valuations? So basically, a valuation is more or less a negotiation. And yes, we do. And what we do is we focus. So the way that we do it is we focus on looking at your projected cash flows for 5 years, and then we use a method called the VC method to come to figure out what is the right price for your business, and then we help you to come to an agreement. We try to come to an agreement on valuation. It is not an exact science. There is no such thing as if you do this, you get this valuation. It's kind of a very negotiable thing. So if you're a very early startup who's just got a little bit of traction, we need to see some sort of validation of somebody wanting to buy your product. So we need to see either the first couple of sales, or we've got to see somebody threatening to buy your product or giving you a big contract or something like that. That will be something to us to prove that you've actually got a business of a product that people want to buy. Once we see that, then your valuation could be in the 1 to 2 million. If you've got IP, then of course it gets. Then if you've got IP or a lot more sales, or you've got some sort of secret sauce, then you can then we negotiate a much higher valuation, of course. So it's important that you get early traction. So we're really focused on businesses that can generate early cash, so that they don't need to go back out to the market and raise more and more money. Dwight, what is the name of the course? It'll be called the Financial Literacy Course. It'll be run with part of UQ Ventures. So this is Dwight Walker. This will be part of UQ Ventures, and hopefully that'll be kicking off in December. I'm not talking too early, but I'm very, very confident that we'll have that course up and ready for investors. So yeah, it's probably a very, very important course to take, because you get a full understanding on not just how to invest, but also how to do due diligence and to evaluate the opportunities to negotiate a good valuation along those lines. Yes, so it's a really important course. How we engage with large corporations? So we normally don't engage with many large corporations. It's kind of interesting. A lot of corporations run what they call innovation centers and do some innovation programs. We've not necessarily worked closely with them. We haven't had an opportunity to come across them yet. It's kind of corporates have a different philosophy. I don't know. We've just not really engaged much with corporates. We're engaging more with VCs now. We've done a lot of outreach work in follow-on investments and creating commercialization pathways. But in terms of big corporates, probably not very much. No. Question from Evan. How important is IP to Angel Loop? That's a good question. What we're looking at is not so much what the IP is, but how easy it is to protect protect your invention. If you've got an idea that's very easy to copy, that someone, as soon as you put it out in the market, some computer hacker is going to put it together in 2 days, and that's going to be a little bit of a problem. So what in terms of we're looking at IP is defensibility of your idea, your ability to do it. So it's not just a patent or a trademark. It's more about, could be secret source, but something that makes it not exactly easy to copy. So that's what we're really looking for. We've done. It's not a showstopper by any stretch of the imagination, but it does go towards evaluation, and it does go towards the likelihood of success. And specifically, if you've got something that doesn't have any IP protection, or you don't have any secret source, your business becomes very easy to copy, and there's a very strong chance that your business could be taken over by somebody with a lot more money. So it's very easy to understand. I've been in Silicon Valley, and if you've got a great idea, someone in the States could copy it very, very quickly with a whole lot of money, and so you've got to find something that gives you that edge or that protection. So Ian. Okay, great. So your Dappy Day. So does Angel Loop help in advance rather than investment? It depends on the members of the group. So what we encourage the members of Angel Loop to do is to donate their time to hubs and so forth. And what you'll see is generally you'll have incidental collisions around the ecosystem, whether that's at innovation event, pitch event. Generally, a lot of angels like to get involved in the local ecosystem, so they're the ones to contact directly. We don't help startups directly. It's very, very important to understand. It's the members that do that, and they donate their time. So it's important to find those people and to help assist you. We don't exactly say we don't have a course, we don't have an accelerator, we don't have an incubator program. All we do is we identify opportunities that our members have found and promote them to help them raise. So that's really important to understand. We don't help startups directly. We help our members who found startups that they want to help. Will you work with businesses that have already done safe notes? Yes. With US investors? Oh, yes. Depending on the valuation. It really comes down to the valuation. US, if you're on a safe note, probably yes. I would say more likely than yes. We would be able to work with you. Yes, definitely. It depends on which business we're investing into. It's up to each individual investor to make their own investment decision. So will we work with you? Yes. Will you be able to get investment? That's another question. Specifically, if you're investing into a US entity or an Australian entity. If it's an Australian entity, you'll have more opportunity to do that. If it's just a US safe note on a Australian business, then that should be fine. We should be able to help you with that. If it's into a US entity, there are some members who want to back Australian businesses rather than American businesses, so it can be a little bit more difficult. So that just sort of gives you an idea for Jacoby. So anybody else got any questions? Fire them away. Another 5 minutes. So why I do this? I'll tell you. Oh, another question. Tom, very useful information. Taking lots of notes here. What are your thoughts on venture debt for growing startups? Venture debt. That it depends on how it's structured. I would go that far. Venture debt it depends on how much and on your balance sheet. So many Australian traditional VCs would frown upon it. I would frown upon it. And generally, we don't like businesses with a large amount of debt on their balance sheet. But we don't do venture debt. That's not what we do. We're here to put capital into businesses. We don't do that at the moment. We don't do venture debt. It's not what we do. But we may invest in businesses that have previous rounds of venture debt, depending on how it's structured and when that debt's going to be paid back, and the terms around it. So it's really a case by case basis, determining the conditions around that debt financing. If it's so it's really important to understand, because what we really like to do is protect you to ensure that, like for instance, I personally don't like doing down rounds. So if previous investors come in at a higher valuation and you have not executed it well enough, it's always disappointing. And I don't want to do down rounds, and I also don't. And so it's very important to understand that we're here to help you. And if the deal that you had previously is not, I think, in your best interest, or we don't think we can add value to it, then probably it won't work. But it's just a case by case basis, Tom. That's just a case by case basis. I think I have patentable. So, Adrian, I think I have a patentable IP, but I don't have any money to protect it. What should I do? First of all, a patent isn't worth anything unless you can afford to defend it. So there's a big movement going on about the value of having a patent in the first place. If you can secret source it, if you can subdifuse it, if it's an internal process that's not exposed to your user, just call it secret source. Like Coca-Cola or the KFC 7, secret spices. You don't need to patent it, because as soon as you patent it and it goes into the public domain, then it's very easy for someone to copy. Now, unless you've got money to defend it, then you're pretty much going to lose that fight. So we've seen a number of cases where a thing has been patented, an unscrupulous US operator has just blatantly copied it, and because they have enormous amounts of capital that they've been able to you basically run you dry. They run you around and around and around until you run out of money. So do you have to have an IP? Do you have to have it patented? No. Should you have it secret sourced? Yes. So all we're looking for is the ability to have a secret or an advantage over your competition because you've got that secret source. Patenting is not necessarily the best way to go. So that's a good piece of advice. Okay. Anybody else? So thanks, Adrian. I hope that helps. Has anybody else got any more questions? So I guess we've got another 2 minutes. So I'll talk about me. So I'm a mechatronics engineer and a entrepreneur for more than 20 years. I did startups in Asia and the United States. I helped start a business in Silicon Valley called Blue Jeans in 2010, early 2010. And then 2 years later, we were copied by another company called Zoom, who you all know who Zoom is. But we were the Yahoo to the Google as into Zoom. So that's my background. I probably came back I'm originally from Brisbane. I came back here about 5 years ago. Okay, Ian, thanks. Very informative. If you've got any questions, please get the last question in. I think I've got a minute. All right, guys. Thank you very, very much. I'm just rounding up down, counting down my 20 seconds left. Thank you very much for joining in. If you've got a startup or you know someone in at least anywhere in regional Australia, I'm open to talk to. We'd really like to hear from you because we want to set up angel groups right across regional Australia to help local regional entrepreneurs commercialise their ideas and help them stay in regional Australia. So thanks a lot.